Hey guys, how's it going? It's 9:30 p.m. on Sunday, September 24th, 2017. So, this is a little strange. Actually doing something with trains again. And I don't know how the hell I got to this point today, because I didn't expect it. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't expect it. Certainly my heart has been probably this weekend heading in that direction. But it is, yeah, it's been straight. What the hell happened? Okay, good. Just wanted to see what the hell was happening there. Let me just put that right there. It should be good enough, I think. Sometimes it maximizes when I try to do that. Okay, there we go. So, I should have showed you the data first. Let me show you the data first. This is the raw tab. It took about 3 hours to enter all this data, but I did it. This was all done this afternoon, or this evening, I guess. You might hear the fan in the background. It is humid as hell, which means I didn't get to go outside much, which means basically my son and I, for the most part, I shouldn't say we were stuck in the house, but we decided to, we don't have air conditioning here, but it's still a hell of a lot cooler than it is outside. You're going to see a lot of these goofy fields here. They're meaningless. The major data happens in these columns right here. Now, it's very similar to the data. I suppose I should explain what the hell's going on exactly, especially for some of you who may have joined my channel. I've had new subscribers. I've gotten into different things. I got into a Stranded Deep video series for a while. I was kind of, just trying to find if there was something else out there that was going to catch my attention. And for all intents and purposes, it seemed like it was an easier approach to do. Figured it was something I could do and wait and see, because I heard stuff was coming down the pipe for Run 8 anyways that might make my life a little easier. Personally, from a Run 8 perspective, I'm not a big fan of the direction they're going. But I've been pleasantly surprised before. Now, I want to clarify that to make sure people understand what the hell I'm talking about. We had, and I guess there's a lot to talk about, really, because I was going to go on live stream earlier. I was going to go on live stream Friday. I knew something was going on with the way I was feeling, because I had gotten into it was kind of crazy. I actually downloaded a free program on Steam, and I dreaded the fact that this weekend I really didn't have anything. I knew it was going to be humid as hell. I knew I wasn't going to be going anywhere. I knew my son didn't have karate. I knew I had that whole weekend to try to figure out. I either had two things to do. Either number one, I had to find something for us to do, or number two, I had to convince him to give Run 8 another shot. You see, because if I could convince him to give Run 8 another shot, that would give me the motivation to go ahead and try it. Now, I'm an only child, so is he. So I know how it feels to have to be independent, to not count on somebody. That you have to basically do it yourself. So, that being said, I can carry a lot of great strength in that, with not having to depend on somebody. I mean, this place is a disaster area as far as cleaning up or anything like that. That's I guess the benefits of not having to live with anybody, or not having to worry about your son, basically holding a finger to you and saying, hey, this place is a mess, like an ex-girlfriend or something, or wife, or whatever. And yeah, I could clean up around here, and I could have done that today for 3 hours. I could have had the same music on and did that. But let me just retrace back to what was going on. As I said, I don't know what exactly happened, but at some point I just was like I was totally burnt out of doing anything Run 8, and then suddenly I was just like, okay, well, let me just see what else is out there. Let me see if I get away from it and I miss it. What really I would like to be able to do with Run 8, there was a time where I had a group of admins, and they would share certain responsibilities, so we would be able to do things and what have you. But even when that was getting really hectic and back in California, it got so hectic that it seemed like a job. There was a time where it was a great, I mean, right around the time, I would say, after version 2 came out, there was, I would say, that was the peak of my Run 8 experience. I was, you know, version 2 was awesome. I was going to start making plans for, or sorry, no, I shouldn't say that. I believe Ski was still, or he was just getting in the process of putting together or starting Run 8 version 2, Run 8 version 2, RTS version 2, and he got busy suddenly with his job. He's just starting to get some time free now. I'm not sure what's going on exactly. I emailed him earlier this weekend, but I haven't heard from him, so I don't know if he got something else happened or whatever. But anyways, I know he was busy for about a weekend or so, or something. Well, 2 weeks he was going to be busy, but then we were talking almost for the last few weekends prior to that, 2 weeks ago. So it sounded as if things were going to free up for him sometime in the fall. So that was cool, and I thought, and we were talking that him and I could probably run our own sessions together, because all it took is 2 people, and that's all it takes. And I thought, yeah, that was, you know, that's a pretty cool idea. And so I was trying to get away from not worrying so much about a group of people, because no matter what I did on the forums, or no matter what I tried to do to spark interest, it didn't seem like I could get any type of community together or any type of discussions going on. And I'm not the only one out there. I mean, I know there's others who have their servers up and they can't get things going. Now, they have their own views and they have their own way of doing things. So, I mean, yeah, maybe, perhaps ideally it would be great if we all got along, or I shouldn't say get along, because we do, a lot of us get along just because we have different views. But for whatever reason, California did their thing. They went their way, their own separate way, to have their own vision or whatever. They weren't that much different than what I had in mind, but I was getting away from California anyways. It was too chaotic for me to do what I was going. So California was, I knew that was an issue. Florida, I never really could get into the way it was, but I knew Waycross was going to change everything, because suddenly that was going to introduce some of the things that I was missing in Florida. So there was some potential there, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I was very serious, and I gave an effort to try, and actually it was suggested to me that it'd be nice if we could all somehow get together, and I kind of agreed. So I thought, well, let me come up with some ideas and see what happens, and see, you know, if somebody's willing to, you know, if they're willing to do something. And there was no discussion. It was, the only person that discussed anything was Tom. None of the rest of the community really had a damn thing to say about it, which kind of, you know, I was just like, okay, whatever. Nobody was posting on the forums. It was just Tom and I. Eventually, it was just me. And I have people that are not even active Run 8, or sorry, active RTS members per se on any server who make comments more. I get more I get more comments from new people trying to figure out where our servers are. So it was getting very depressing, to say the least. And that's why I decided I needed a break totally away from Run 8. I had to get away from it. So I did it. I said, you know, I don't know what it was, 2 weeks ago or something like that. I just said, no, I'm done. I'll get back eventually, but maybe it was 3 weeks ago. I think it's been that long, actually. It's been a month. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know when it was, but there was a point where I just said, you know, I'm done. I need a break. And I took the break, and I explained myself. I was certainly checking my form on a regular basis, just like I checked this morning. And I thought, okay, well, we'll see what happens. I'm just going to do my thing, and I'm going to see if people are reactive to it, or people have ideas, or if people have concerns, or, you know, or anything, but it didn't seem like people really cared one way or another. They're just doing their thing, or they're just, you know, it's like, okay, whatever. So I felt this weight was on my shoulders in California. I had to get rid of that weight. I felt the weight was on my shoulders even when I was under another server in California. So I got rid of that weight. Then I felt this whole RTS server thing, or whatever the hell it was with Run 8, or whatever my new version 2, or whatever the hell was going to come out. I felt the stress of that, and I said, you know, I got to get rid of that because that's not getting fun anymore. And so here we are. And now we're back. A lot of things have changed, and probably this weekend that really, before anything, first of all, like I said, and I mentioned about my son. I was hoping my son was going to take to Run 8. He hasn't. He's just not interested in it. And I wish it was more. I wish he did. I wish he saw what I saw in it, because I do see a lot of potential in Run 8. Believe it or not, I do. The problem is trying to get just a couple people into the same thing that you're into, and then to develop something together is very difficult to collaborate, I find. It's been very difficult. So really, going on just if I can't even get that collaboration, going on a limb and trying to develop any type of software on my own is just ridiculous. Now, can Ski and I do it? Absolutely. Can we talk about things? Yeah, absolutely we can, because I think we're kind of on the same page. We both have different time availability and everything, so that's where things change. And I don't know, and he's probably feeling the same way. Does he want to put all this effort into it when only a few of us care? You know what I mean? So ideally, I would like to see Run 8 be able to provide the solutions, or somebody else for that matter, provide those solutions, because I just want to run the game. It's been 5 years. It's, you know, I had to start from scratch as it was when version 2 came out. And because I had to start from scratch, I knew that there was a lot of changes that I wanted to make anyways, so it was a tough deal. It wasn't going to be easy. And it wasn't the same as where it was before. It was a lot different back in time where I had all that time to develop something, and we were testing the servers, we were testing the Run 8 software as a beta tester. So I had all that behind me, and I had a lot of vision, and I had a lot of drive and motivation, and it was something totally new. Now you're 5 years later, I'm used to that all. I'm already used to playing it. I'm already used to it. Here's the thing with Run 8. You have California that is just becoming a monster. And I've stressed on this before. It is becoming a total monster, and it's going to get worse. And for some of you, I know there's people out there like, what the hell are you talking about? California is awesome. I don't know what's going on with car alarms out there. Stupidity. But anyways, California is like this monster. And some of you is like, no, it's not a monster. California is awesome. And boy, anytime I do a YouTube video, I swear I gotta get this bullshit upstairs. Pardon my language. But so California is great as far as those who want to run. How many people really have the time to run a train from Arizona all the way to LA? First of all, there's a crew change in the middle for the reason why. I mean, it's great that it's all connected, but is it really that important? I mean, here's the issue with this. You try to anybody tries to put up a server for California. They could put up a server and put up all the routes. They can buy all the routes and say, here, you can play and do whatever you want with it. Have all the switching you want, do what you want, have fun, blah, blah, blah. Who's going to do you have enough people to take care of all those industries? Do you have enough people to take care of all those trains? Do you have enough people to dispatch that route? I don't know. I really don't know. My God. Anyways. I'm glad I had peace and quiet earlier, but as soon as I go on YouTube, this is what happens. All of a sudden, I got dog wars upstairs or something. I don't know. There was a car alarm in the area, and then my neighborhood's not that bad. I was just out for a walk. It was nice and peaceful. Everything was quiet. Oh boy. Anyways, so Selkirk, I guess Selkirk's going to get bigger too. They're going to probably expand, I imagine. I don't know. I don't know how much interest is in it, but I know there was, certain interest in that as well. So they're going to push forward. It seems like every route's going to go that way. And even A-Line's going to do it. I know that they have plans of expanding. I believe they're not expanding south now. I think they're expanding north or west or northwest or something. I don't know which route it is they're expanding, but I know now that this is out, other than make some patches, they're going to expand further as well. What Run 8 really needs is some new blood, some new routes, something smaller for one. I mean, it's great that things expanding. It's great that people want to make money. It's great that people want to have their visions of whatever or to be able to build on. The problem with all these expansions is this. The more you keep expanding, the tougher it is for the people who want to operate it or operate it in a server environment. And I'll tell you why it's really simple and why it's tough. And this is something that's been in the back of my mind too. It wasn't so much about Florida. I wasn't too worried about that because I knew this was going to be, Florida just came out with Waycross not too long ago. I knew this wasn't going to be a big deal. But what you end up having is you have this expansion that comes out. And, you got, what is it? This expansion just came out, so it's going to be a while before the next one comes. That's the good part. That's the good news. The bad news is eventually the expansion is going to come. So what happens is someone like myself or another server owner who may or may not, if they're not into operations, it's less of a deal because all they have to do is buy the route. It used to be an issue of buying the certain car packs, making sure that you had the right cars loaded up because certain routes, if you didn't have the right cars, that became an issue. So every server had to either buy all the car packs so that they were part of it and allowed them to be run. Otherwise, they couldn't run them on the server unless they had the car packs. So now there's a pressure on the server owners for those regions, and it's kind of a market. I don't know if it's a marketing incentive or just happens to be that way. But every server, nobody's forcing these servers to do it. The problem is if that server does not. Let's take Southwest Rails for example. They would probably be able to run a lot leaner people-wise, and not worry so much about dispatching. I was dispatching for them for a while, and I had to back off of that because it was just like I wasn't getting anything done. It was, again, it was feeling like I was, you know, it was actually too stressful the way it was. I was dispatching more territory than I was when we were over in California, RTS California. I was like, this isn't my kind of dispatching. it was just too nuts. And he backed off on the trains and all that other stuff. But then, you back off on the trains. Does it really feel like it's California if you're backing off on all the trains? No, not really. And the moment it expanded to LA, I was done anyways. So I just, I said, it's nice. It was fun while it lasted, but I need to step away from this. So I went back. I went back to doing my own thing, and unfortunately, my own thing's a little bit lonely, and I knew that. I knew that I could be stuck in Waycross. I could be stuck operating a hump where I can't see trains that often. It could be very busy if it's just me. It's a lot different when you have somebody else that you can count on that may decide to take over the hump and take over dispatching and allow you to run some trains. So I kind of saw that as a parallel or a possibility, that if I didn't have those people in there, would I get into something where I was running something and just kind of trapped in my own creation, or not creation, but creation of the system type thing. And I didn't want to do that, but then at the same time, maybe I don't have to worry so much about what other people want if other people aren't telling me what they want, or telling me this is what they want to do, or where they're looking forward to seeing this. Because really I haven't had any much as far as forums, YouTube comments. I get a few oddball ones here and there, but that's about it. Most of my YouTube videos are very long. They're a lot of rambling. I realize that. Do I want, if I was me, would I be able to go through all that? Maybe not. I certainly, I have a hard time paying attention to a lot of YouTube videos as it is, and I know I'm pressed for time in the morning when I usually want to watch a YouTube video, maybe 20 minutes long, and that's it. Then I want to do my own things. I don't want to be watching YouTube videos all day. That's just me. So, I can understand when these videos get a little too long. And hopefully tonight it's not going to get too long, and I'll get into the data a little bit more, which is kind of on my screen here. But just to try to sum this all up, I don't like the direction of the expansion phases that are going to take place over the next little while. Hopefully more things come along. I hope there's more car forwarding or automation options. I heard there was coming. There was a little bit more flexibility. There was a little bit more of this. But I really haven't heard too much more because, well, you got to be a member of a certain forum to hear any information these days. And even when you have access to the regular forum, you don't have access to everything. Not where the team likes to hang out, I guess. And that's just the way it is, and so be it. I'll hear things through the grapevine anyways. It's not a big deal. It's not like what it used to be in another form. So, but that was just a thing. And then today was an interesting little wake up call because I got this fishing simulator last week, and I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do this weekend, but I was kind of into the fishing simulator, and him and my son and I, we were playing it the whole weekend, and I was starting to get bored of it. I let him do some fishing, and I'd do some, and then I tried to set it up on his computer with Steam, which is, a PITA, to say the least, but at least I got that part done, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to be playing this game every weekend. And I said it's boring as hell. I shouldn't say it's boring as hell, but it was starting. I mean, there was some things to it, but it's just like you're throwing a line in the water. It's got great graphics. It's Fishing World, I think it is. I was going to do a YouTube on it. I'm glad I didn't because I don't want to sucker anybody else in. And I'm not out to sucker people into views. For those people that enjoy Stranded Deep, I mean, I might look back into it and do a video now and then. But that's... Stranded Deep had its limitations. There's so many of these games. They're very limited as to what you scope. Run 8's a little bit different. Run 8's one of these things that you can continue and go on and build up your industries, and you can just basically play, you know, keep continuing to play, and you have different experiences based on the number of people that are playing, and you know, what kind of, you know, additions you make. I suppose, you know, from an outsider, you're like looking at a train simulator and you're thinking, well, that's kind of boring, and I can understand that. But from my perspective, I mean, I've done this for 5 years and I wasn't really that bored of it. I mean, there's been times I've been, but I've always seemed to enjoy it. And maybe I'm getting bored of everything. I don't know, perhaps. But for whatever the reason, I spent 3 hours tonight. I put some music on. I would have showed you guys what I was doing earlier, but perhaps it's better I didn't. I just put the music in the background and I just started doing this data entry. So everything you see on this particular tab here, the raw tab, is raw data of all the trains off of my TD3. And you can see there is 152 rows. This was all done tonight or this evening or whatever. Took 3 hours to do. These are the raw codes. Hopefully it's accurate. There's a lot of variables down here, but those are for trains that do work. I have the passenger trains that have station stops in here for Savannah and Jessup. Now, what a lot of this for some might look like is, you know, you got your train ID, which is kind of meaningless. Description's kind of okay. For the train type, you got a freight, intermodal, and passenger, and I think a track car or whatever the hell symbol that is. I don't even know what the hell that is, to be quite honest. Direction is the direction it appears on the TD3 screen, or the TD3, like if it's heading right or if it's heading left, because that's the only directions that you can head. Even if it's a northbound or southbound, they always head right or left. The length of the train, the entrance code, which I'm going to be getting to in a minute, the scheduled time a train enters. Now this isn't always the same time. These I put in the days of the week as representing a 1. If it's blank, it's not running on that day. The exit code, similar to the entrance code. Entrance exit codes is what I'm going to be working on. You got the times here. You got the various areas that a train would work a territory, and how long and what direction it would continue to head. So in one way you've got a coal train that works heading right, and then it goes after 60 minutes comes left. I don't know if there's multiple entries. Yeah. So it comes back out at A3 or something like that. It comes back out at H2, like it exits H2. And then after 540 minutes, it comes back out as E128 runs forward and again works at Savannah for 60 minutes, which probably doesn't even affect us, but I put all the data in there regardless if they do or don't affect it. So I'll determine later on what is and isn't appropriate. Now these codes are what I wanted to base what was going on next. This is the data that I was using in the simulation. I am going to scrap this. As you can see, I got all the way up to noon. Well, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I got all the way up to noon. I started color coding things, and it's very similar. There's work, ETA, there's a few other things, but I want to get more automated, so that's probably going to be scrapped. The hump codes, I don't know. We'll see what goes on. I may have to change the hump configuration a bit. I'm not worried too much about it right now. Again, entrance exit codes are what I'm going to work on next. So this is the TD3. And what this represents is the CSX AC dispatcher territory. All the train schedule data has now been extracted from it and entered. Hopefully it's accurate. It may or may not represent real schedules of 2003. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well, somebody can correct me, or who cares? It is what it is. And I'm just going to put in, no, that's not working. Or is it? Yeah, it's working. Okay. So I'm going to move this over here just a little bit. That works good. So we've got, I'm looking at the various letters. I see an A1 and an A3. I don't see an A2. Generally in TD3, depending upon the creator of the territory, you can see what happens is if I'm in here, see how I hit the letter, so it moves over. So if I hit F, the mouse goes right to Forest River. That's a very quick way on how to get, like, I don't know if 7 works for Waycross. Yeah, it does. Okay. That's kind of like a hotkey, so that if you're dispatching the territory, it gets you to it without having to look around. Now, normally from west to east, it will go. I don't know if C works. It does. Okay. So it starts at Central Junction, north of Savannah, where you've got the A line to Florence and the S line to Hamlet. So right here, and I don't know the description I want to call it, I just put A line to Florence and S line to Hamlet. And from there, it's, you know, just basically basically you've got I can read through this and figure out what everything means. I don't know too much about all these locations, what they mean, but like, for example, I can see there's a 1, there's a 2 for Savannah Yard. I don't know too much about it, but for example, I can put this as GCRR. East Alabama Junction, GCRR West Alabama Junction. I have no, I don't even know the names. I guess that would be Savannah Yard. So now all I do is from there, and what's going to happen is I'm going to call up these codes so that when the raw data calls it, I'll do lookup functions, and that will say what exactly that is, or what it really means in Waycross. Because those areas mean absolutely nothing. The only time it gets into A line is once it gets to North Ludowiski. Everything else, I don't even know what the hell K1 is. Looks like something about Stewart. I don't know what the hell that means. I imagine sometimes there's information. So you can go into well, see, then I can go like this if I want to. So this is kind of a description, although I'm gonna put word wrap in there. So this is basically a description of everything, of what the territory for that is. And I mean, you can read along with it. We got the Savannah sub from Central Junction to Ogeechee. Now I'm just reading this along here just to see. So Savannah sub really doesn't matter too much for our purposes. The Nahanta sub covers the A line between Ogeechee and Dinsmore, the majority of the speeds. Yeah. Okay. Jessup Station must use the one track, the bottom track, and I think that's accurate for what Folkestone does. They have to use that bottom track. I think if you run on the top track, the passenger train will not stop. You got the Brunswick style. Jessup sub rejoins and begins what is referred to as Folkestone funnel. More than 50 trains a day. Callahan is at the bottom of the funnel. Blah blah blah. All sidings are non-signaled. Interesting. The Callahan sub, 20 miles long, is what exists the Seaboard Central line between Savannah and Jacksonville. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just, I haven't read that for a while there. It's the exit points that are kind of interesting at this point. I guess I'll put it to here. I should still have the notepad here, just to give me, because that's basically, so 1221 D2 is okay, so it's up that way. So Savannah Yard north. Savannah Yard, I don't know, what do you want to call that? That's the well, I'll call it south over. I have no idea. Doesn't really have too much information other than that. Looking at H2 now. H2 is the Riceboro branch. I know there's something that goes down there, but I'm not sure what. Baldwin is H4 if I recall. Yep. So that's part of the Callahan sub. I don't see anything else. K1, as I said. Now that's one that's not too far outside. Right track, Fort Stewart. Okay. So R1 is Brunswick sub. Nahanta East. R2 is Brunswick sub. Nahanta Y. I think there's a Y there, but I'm not sure what that is. I imagine that's what that is. Yeah. Yeah, it's a way to get around heading north, I think. I don't even know what takes it, to be honest. Again, I'm not too familiar with the territory. At least not that end so much. Nahanta west. Then you get into the Folkestons. Once you get past Nahanta, you get Winnaker, Birch, Folkestone, all that other stuff. Eventually you get to Y2. Y2 is not the Callahan sub, that's for sure. We'll just call it Jacksonville. So that's at Dinsmore. Then the only other one is the tracks that go out. 71 is Brunswick sub Waycross. 72 is whoops, that up. Rice Yard. I guess that would be north. Yeah, I think that's considered north. I'm not too sure. Fitzgerald sub is on 73. 74 is the Thomasville sub, and 75 is Rice Yard South. So that should. Now I do have some areas as well. I don't know where Forest River is. Let me. Okay, that's up that way. So if I go through find areas, this tells you the block numbers. Back Swamp. Yeah, it's over here by North Ludowiski. So that's easy enough to see. Crawford, that's a siding down by, oh, what do you call it? It's on the Callahan sub, outside of Jacksonville. So, I mean, I can get into these areas. I'll just try to remember that Crawford is not a. I knew it sounded familiar because, and then you got Doctortown, which, yeah, that's just outside. So that's between Back Swamp. That's where the one local works. I already did Forest River, I think. Blackshear, did I? Blackshear is here. I don't know what that is. That's heading up to Jessup. I'm not sure where that is, so those are the kind of things I'll have to look at.
And I could, I suppose, put it into here. Just as a, I don't want to put it there though. You got back swamp, Black Shear, Forest River. Forest River's the other one. That's up there, so I don't have to worry about that. Let me just minimize this one more time. And again, that's January 2003. I'll close this up now. So I wanted to go through the raw data, just I'll show you what I mean. So you got these work areas right here. You got Jessup, Crawford, again, Crawford not meaning anything for us. Savannah, Crawford's already beyond, so it doesn't matter. Savannah moving right, this does matter because you're adding in, at least you're adding in the time. Well, then again, maybe you're not because it's heading off to H2. If you look at where this goes, it's going to come back out of H2. It never W451, the Savannah coal, never reaches the Run 8 version. It never gets as far as Jessup. So it runs off on H2. H4, on the other hand, is Baldwin, which is totally different. But since the Callahan sub only runs for about a mile past Callahan, it's irrelevant. Savannah does play into a part for a delay. Back Swamp, you've got the Rock Train. And see, this is where you're looking at, I don't even know if I had K1. Yeah, okay, Fort Stewart. So I don't know too much about that. So what that means is it goes in at K1. How does that work? At Back Swamp, I'll try to explain this one here. It works for 1 minute and then it heads back so that it can do a runaround. I think it's a runaround. Yeah. So the train's heading this way. It goes to Back Swamp, does a runaround. I guess it goes to Fort Stewart. Eventually it heads back to 12. See, there it is right there. So really, I mean, yeah, technically it comes into play, but when you look at the route, I mean, let me see this for a second here. It comes into this area, but I don't think this is even represented. This K1. I don't even know if the hotbox detector is even shown at North Buda Whiskey. So yeah, it does a runaround, but for our intents purposes, it really doesn't matter. Savannah Q195, yes, that's coming into Jacksonville, Cicely. We got passenger station time. Savannah's not important. Jessup is. So I don't know how many have multiples. Actually, there's a lot. So that's something to keep in mind too, is the multiples. So Q393 goes into the yard at Savannah, comes back out, and then heads on to Rice Yard. But it has a delay. So these all get calculated as to what those total delays may or may not be. I haven't calculated all the minutes. I haven't even programmed, you know, I haven't programmed any randomization factors, because what I want to do is actually program this to act like TD3. I'll give you an example here. When you're working TD3, and this is how Run 8 was supposed to work, at least version 2, it seemed like that was the way they were going, and I've mentioned this before. For some reason, they decided not to go that way. But when you looked at a screenshot around this time last year, maybe a little bit later into the fall, they were showing Run 8 version 2 had this selection thing where a train could be late from spawning. So I can show you, I'll show you for example here. We have random train parameters. They're only of a lateness, runtime performance. So there's your lateness right there. Now this is 99%, which means it could be any time. It's kind of drastic, but that's just the way they're set up for that. Passengers are only 10% delay. That's a little odd, why the passengers have locomotive problems and the others don't. But anyways, you can change those settings. I don't know why they were like that, but who knows. So if I was to start on a day of the week like a Sunday, there would be my territories right there. Now I can start slowly, and then if I go into trains,
train stopped, awaiting signal.
It's already starting to complain about, you know, trains that are stopped. Kind of like what Run 8 does, except you can see the next ETA, and this is what I like about it, because as dispatcher, you know, maybe in the prototype you wouldn't get that much information, and there's a lot of, you know, trains that are stopped waiting for signals, which is fine. But you see, the next train that's going to come into play is at 28 minutes. And this is what I want to get. I want to get a screen so that it's easy for me to know when to spawn trains, or whoever else is running it. Q3 693, for example, if I go into the properties, it's got an ETA of coming out of the S line at 0:28. If I was to look at that train, though, its normal time to come out is at 0:10. So it's basically only being delayed by 18 minutes. Q213, on the other hand, is only being delayed by 12 minutes. I don't know why the delays are so small. Usually when it's like 99%, they get really delayed. Unless, well, I don't know. That's just the way it is. So I can look at this one here at 1:19, and I can see this one's over an hour and 4 minutes to be exact, delay coming out. And this is what makes the repeat playability and interest, because now you got two things this takes care of. Number one, this takes care of a train's coming on a set schedule, which you don't want. You don't want to have the trains coming up on the same time every day, or else it gets really predictive. It's kind of like a passenger schedule almost, but you know, not quite. Because passengers' schedules can change too. But they get to be very predictive, because most of the time, unless there's issues, they're on, you know, they're supposed to be on time, blah blah blah. I mean, like a commuter schedule, let's say. And then you have your emergencies and whatever, and then, you know, one's supposed to be at a certain track and it's not there. So I mean, things do happen, but generally speaking, passengers or commuters in particular, short range commuter services, I'm thinking of for major cities, they usually run pretty much on time. Whereas freights, they could be running, you know, the intermodals might be closer to being on time, but a lot of others might have major delays, etc. So this is what I want to program in. What happens with Run 8 is they have their, I don't know what the hell it is. It's a train factor that spawns in so many every. No, it's a probability system, which their random number generator's screwed anyways. So what ends up happening is their trains get thrown all over the damn place, and then even though 1,000 to 1 odds, you will often see, even though you have 150 symbols, you'll see 3 trains get spawned in the same session. which is ridiculous. Sometimes one after another. I've seen that happen. Or 3 trains in a row got the same train spot. And it was like, how the hell? What's the odds of that happening? It was like about 1,000 to 1 odds, but it's happened. So you don't get that kind of crap. So this is what I was hoping to see in version 2. It didn't happen. There's a lot of things. 90% of what has come through version 2 has been very pleasing and satisfactory. It's up to me to fill in the blanks. You know, if I want to get it done, it's basically up to me to get it done. So some of these trains have come to a stop, blah blah blah. I've pretty much gone through that, so I don't have to worry about that now. So that's good. Now I can just focus on the data. Now I meant to show you. You can click on the train schedule and see, you know, what's coming up at a certain time, and etc. etc. So where do I go from here? I'm gonna cut this short tonight, believe it or not. It's like 10:25 Eastern. There's really not too much more I have to say about this, and I don't want to drag you through all this boring. There's still some work to be done, but what this does for me is it gives me the data in front of me so that I can apply the data, put the formulas in. What's going to happen? Probably, I may start running sessions tomorrow, or I may start running trial mock sessions as of tomorrow night. It's not going to be tonight, I know that for sure. It's 10:26 Eastern. I may stay up for a while, depending upon how much more, you know, and doing a YouTube and doing all this. So I just wanted to show you the data. This has actually held me back for a while because I knew there was a lot of data to get done, and I was doing a little bit at a time and then getting into it, and then, you know, and I knew there was a lot of work. I haven't even touched the industries yet. Now the good thing is I'm going to cross-reference some of this train data with what's on the Wikia. One thing that did change today, which really, I don't know if it really had an impact, is Tom deciding to go separate ways with Florida. So it was kind of a I don't know, it was kind of a shock in a way, but in another way it didn't surprise me. And you know, there's no hard feelings. We're certainly on good terms. We were talking just not too long ago, so I mean everything's fine. But he's got a lot of information on the Wikia, and I'll be using that information. I will be taking that information and applying it to my own server coming forward. My server will not be a 24/7 server. It will be a run sessions whenever I want. I don't even know if I'm going to run it on a schedule or what the hell I'm going to do, to be quite honest. I don't want it to become an agonizing job, but I do want it to get it to be predictable, to where people get used to it. I want to make sure that there's some built-in factors in here to make it as least stressful as possible for new people, as well as anybody else to administer the server. I want to be able to run it myself if necessary, though I don't want to be the only one running. If I'm just running it myself all the time, that's where I'll start reducing sessions and I'll just run it whenever the hell I want, basically. There's nothing more to say about that. We'll see how it goes. I'll give it an effort. So who knows? Maybe by tomorrow night we'll have some sessions up. I'm not going to announce anything. If it goes up, it goes up. If it doesn't, if it's delayed or whatever, it's delayed. But right now I'm not. I have no interest in. I'm trying to avoid YouTube as much as possible, as far as for a source of entertainment on my part. In other words, I try not to spend too much time on YouTube myself. I think I started at 9:30, so it's right about 10:30 right now, so it's going to be a 1-hour video tonight, so that's a good one. So I'm trying to avoid YouTube. I'm trying to avoid spending too much time worrying about things that I can't control. This is what it is, and this is what I'm going to be doing, hopefully moving forward. Hopefully I'm back, and I've got some renewed juice. Maybe I needed. Maybe this is kind of the wake up call I needed. Maybe it was just suddenly it was just like, okay, well, what has RTS become? Is RTS dead? You know, what the hell's going on? Because I knew the forum was pretty dead for a while, but man, when that kind of hit me today, I was just like, okay, well, let's see here. We got Smiley's the only server that's listed. I'm not even listed. Nobody else is listed. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, that was kind of a wake-up call for me and said, okay, I mean, what am I doing this for? Is it just for a forum? Is it just for a blog? Is it, you know, I don't even know what the hell I do YouTube half the time for, so. But, anyways, you can post comments and do whatever. It seems like I'm rejuvenated. It seems like I'm okay. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot of work ahead, but I'm gonna take it right from the start again. I'm gonna start this out. I have the data now. Hopefully that's enough to take the stress load off and keep me interested and give me everything that I need, and I can prepare my sessions ahead of time with very little preparedness and just go ahead and have fun. So that's kind of the goal for me. So anyways, that's it for now. As I said before, you know, comment and suggestions or whatever is always welcome, and check out the Wikia and do post forum posts or whatever, and let me know what you're thinking, or let me know what you're interested in doing, etc. I'm always looking for people who may want to dispatch, who might want to run the yards, there's going to be a lot of positions that are going to be open, despite the fact that I'm going to be willing or able to do it by myself if necessary. So hopefully that'll work out too. So anyways, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.